Hello gainers, I'm Ralphie and welcome to my little channel on YouTube called Fitter Philosophy, in which I talk about practical experience-based philosophical, some would call it common sense, but it's not always common sense. Sometimes you require an uncommon sense to break free from a dominant narrative which restricts our capacity to appreciate life. So with this video, I'm really going to focus on reasons to re-educate ourselves. The sooner we do this, the better. And I'm going to set the scene at the moment, the situation, and I want you to look at it this way, that we are brought into our individual societies, wherever they may be, and as children we utterly accept the social norms and the status quo we find ourselves in, because children are involved in the very complex and exhausting process of growing up. And during that process we spend a lot of time at school. Not everywhere, but in many places. And at school, it is an opportunity for the establishment, the elite that control society, to indoctrinate us in a way that suits them. And a good example of this, and it's a very practical example, is the ability to read and write, which by and large is a very good thing to do. It's a priceless skill. It's priceless in one language, but when you can do it in several languages, even more so. The ability to read and write opens enormous opportunities to further our education. However, you will notice that the definition of education tends to be restricted to educational establishments, starting with kindergartens, moving on to schools, and then thereafter, depending on the status of qualifications, colleges and universities. Now, just so as you're aware, because not many people are aware, all universities, and well, the majority of universities and colleges are in fact registered charities. So they never pay any tax, and they pay, certainly in the UK, in Britain, they pay a maximum of 5% value added tax. So this makes educational establishments enormously profitable, not because so much that they're making profit, but they're avoiding tax. And in many societies, so-called developed societies, it isn't in a business interests to make too much profit, otherwise they're subject to taxation. It is far better to run your business in a way that you avoid paying taxes, particularly taxes on your profits. So now I'm talking about a narrative here which you never get taught in school. You get taught little about nutrition, you get taught little about finances. You basically, you're indoctrinated to be an economic unit. And it's only when we re-educate ourselves that we can challenge that status quo and empower ourselves to get more out of life and to invest in ourselves, importantly. Because the more time we spend with ourselves, examining ourselves, the more we understand our strengths and, of course, our weaknesses. And this is something that school can try and fudge by a mechanism of restraining exceptionally talented students, and by upgrading lazy or unfortunately less intelligent students, so as to achieve a happy, acceptable mediocrity. And the result is that standards are never that high because they're never that low. The emphasis is somewhere in the middle, so you get too many children growing into adulthood who are all using the same narrative, and in fact willingly and unbeknowingly subduing the individuality and singularity of their lives. The self-education is an absolute mission. I can't understate this enough. That it's only when we understand how reading books provides us with information that we're never going to get anywhere else. Even those who are students at fairly prestigious universities are blissfully unaware as to how much information and knowledge, historical archives, they will never be allowed access to because they are heavily, heavily censored. So we have this situation that we're straitjacketed into social norms in which we are expected to incur debt, pay taxes, and use our time, our skills, our labour to generate economic return, primarily for the benefit of the state rather than the individual. And this seems to be painting quite a bleak picture, but bear with me in this. Half the time, it's actually quite acceptable, because in the modern world, there are electric hot showers, sanitation, fresh water, cars, comfortable sofas, plush carpets in a room. In fact, modern living can, if anything, be simply too comfortable for our own good, but at least for the majority of people it is available, although you will find people would prefer just to consume drugs instead. But that's human nature. But the conclusion I would put on this is that, having read a number of books over the years of which I was blissfully unaware, it has hugely changed my perception on life. Some of them are spiritual books, some of them are philosophical books. Some of them have inspired, in fact, this my channel Fitter Philosophy, and in doing so helped to elevate my consciousness and awareness of the life we are in, that in a sense we're self-deprogramming from, because in being honest with that, in embracing it, the benefits are that we recalibrate and we reach our higher selves. And although there are some philosophers who would claim there is no purpose to life, the fact is natural law dictates there is a purpose to everything. Energy doesn't come out of nothing and it doesn't go to nothing. Energy simply transmits and transposes. And that we are all little creatures of light, all humans, all living things. And that's the living things in rocks and in trees and in the landscape. All matter is held together by life, because without life, matter would have no purpose and therefore not exist. And these are the thoughts that you're never ever going to be aware of in an indoctrinating school. But it's a process we all have to endure, and in a sense, it gives us a reason to push on through for quite a number of people, not everybody. And don't underestimate for 1 minute the number of people that are around us who are quite happy to graze in the little field in which they find themselves. And that freedom to some people is not enlightenment and knowledge and self-understanding and awareness. It's donuts, football, television, and video games. And that's part of the human condition. Do you know, there's nothing helps you grow as an individual more than looking at people who fail in life. So long as we're sympathetic and not too judgmental, that's important. We need to keep a positivity towards others that we can invest in the positivity towards ourselves. And that is really all I have to say for this video. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment, click subscribe. I hope you enjoy this content. We'll see you soon, gainers.